How are y'all doing tonight? All right, I'll get started. So now that we've talked about some national solutions for food waste, let's move into... Oh, shoot. My mind completely blanked. I didn't know at all what I was supposed to say next. That fragment was a part of a speech I gave at humble brag incoming state championships for speech and debate last year. And what you have to understand is that this is a speech that I'd practiced dozens, if not hundreds of times. I practiced it when I woke up. I practiced it before I went to bed. Heck, I even practiced it when I was in the shower. So when you combine that practice with my hotshot mindset, remember, this was state, I thought I was some hot stuff, then you get a guy in me who thinks he's a lot smarter, funnier, and cooler than he actually is. So you can imagine how much of a slap in the face it was to forget my speech. If you could stick a probe into my mind and hear my internal monologue, it would go something along the lines of, Ethan, you are effing this one up, man. How do you forget your speech at state? Come on. And a lot more expletives. So what did I do next? I told myself to shut up, think, and I did the best I could to move forward. To provide some background, my name's Ethan Thio. I'm a junior here at Valencia. So when I heard that I could give a TED Talk, I was both excited and worried. I was excited because, well, I knew I could talk. I'm in speech and debate. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. But I was a bit scared, a bit worried because I didn't know exactly what I would talk about. Because you see, the TED Talks I've seen were by superstar athletes, people of that caliber. So when you compare a LeBron James with my physically imposing 5'5", 115-pound frame, then it doesn't take a genius to see the problem there. So I decided to give this speech to you today, this hopefully engaging speech on how my experiences in speech and debate have changed me. So first, a disclaimer. I'm 16 years old. I've got a lot to learn still. I'm sure there are people in this audience who can run circles around me when it comes to speech, and more importantly, circles around me when it comes to, life experience and wisdom. So I hope at least this can be slightly engaging and entertaining if I can't really inform much. So, back on track. How did I get into this speech and debate thing? Like I told you in the beginning, I'm incredibly unathletic. We're talking about bottom percentile, exceptionally uncoordinated, slow, and weak. So logically, when I was a little kid, I tried to play a lot of sports. I played basketball, I played soccer, I played baseball, I even tried taekwondo, and you can imagine how well that went. So when my mom told me that, a couple of guys I knew were going to do this speech and debate thing, I latched onto it because, well, I hoped it wouldn't require too much athleticism. I wish I could say, the first time I spoke at that practice, it was so beautiful that people started weeping on the spot. No fear, no hesitation, just greatness. But come on. That would be a complete lie. Going back to that practice, I think I was almost whispering, I was shaking, I was deathly terrified. It was kind of pathetic. But especially towards the end of that speech, and when I sat down, there was this rush that to this day I chase. It's like when you're on a roller coaster, and you just went down that big drop, and you're going really fast, but there's no more scary loops or anything. You just faced what you were afraid of, and you came out on the other side. It took a lot of work. It got worse before it got better, but I knew that I was hooked. What I want you guys to understand, though, is that speech and debate is not some kind of glamorous activity 24/7. The most common response that I get when I tell someone that I do speech and debate is, oh, that's a tremendous vote of confidence right there. The most common, or the best, I guess if you call it that, stereotype of a speech and debater is that we aren't dramatic enough to do drama, but at the same time, we're too dumb to do academic decathlon. If I'm being completely honest, it's not a total lie. But, okay, practically, the skills I've learned from speech and debate are numerous. I've learned how to stand up in front of a crowd and sound at least a little bit like I know what the heck I'm talking about. Researching and writing speeches has made me a better writer and a better student overall. But the biggest lesson I've learned from speech and debate is how to tackle fear. I know what you're already thinking. All right, Ethan, Mr. Speech Guy, he's not afraid when he goes up to speak. Good for him. But heck, my feet are shaking talking to you guys right now. It doesn't matter if I've practiced a speech 2 times, 20 times, or 200 times. There's always a little voice in my head that's telling me, Ethan, you are going to F this one up. Why don't you just sit down in that chair and don't talk? And I mean, at the biggest speech competition in my life, I did mess up, and I failed. But the reason why I keep coming back to the thing that gives me such fear is that voice might be screaming in my head, but when I go up in front of someone and open my mouth, it's like telling that little voice to sit down and shut up. There's something exhilarating, empowering in that. So when my feet are shaking, my palms are sweaty, and I'm about to give a speech, I don't run away from that fear. I don't ignore it either. I run straight at what I'm afraid of, use that fear to propel me to prove that very fear wrong. The biggest failures I've seen in speech and debate were never the people who gave bad speeches. No, they're the people who were too afraid to go up and speak at all. Let's be real. Public speaking is really, really scary. But so is venturing out for opportunity and, heck, living life. The best speakers I've ever heard never have said that they weren't scared to go up and talk, but rather that they had those emotions and did it anyways. So if there's some kind of grand lesson that I've learned from my admittedly small experiences in speech and debate, it's that the fear is always going to be there. You can't deny that it exists. If you want to give a good speech, if you want to be successful, you can't ignore the fear. You can't run away from it either. You got to run right at what you're afraid of and prove that stupid fear wrong. Thank you.